So we'll start with a nice little roll down as per usual because I really like it. If you want to do it, if you have a space on the wall, it is really nice to do on the wall. So you're welcome to do that if you like. And if you're in the middle of the floor, also cool. So just a little shake, crack out your toes, get your hips going, and then stand your ground, press into the ground, stretch up tall. Slight tail tuck, long back of neck to start your roll down, nice and slow. So really using your core to unfurl yourself smoothly. When you get to the bottom, you can give your hips a little shake, maybe grab onto your elbows, give yourself a swing. And then rolling back up, so slight bend of the knees, tuck your tail, and that's what allows you to feel that stack. Hopefully, doing this every class is making it feel a little smoother. We'll do it one more time, a little bit more core engagement to add some strength. So really tucking your tail along back of your neck. Use your core to pull yourself down. Okay, a little swing side to side. And then rolling back up. So bending your knees, tucking your tail, and feeling everything stack back up. Turning your toes out, stretching up, and we'll squat. So pulling your shoulders away from your ears to pull your elbows in. So you're starting to get your lats in on the party. Stretch it up. Good. Again, so really tucking the tail, pull the shoulders away from your ears. So everything's flattening out against your upper back. Lots of tension pulling your elbows in. Tuck your tail, try to pull your knees back a little bit farther. Stretch it up. We'll do that one more time. So really initiating from your upper body, shoulders, pull down and away. Everything else follows. And now we're going to hold this for a moment. Tail tuck, knees wide. And then really think about pulling your ribs in and pulling your elbows in towards your side. So you can start to feel everything kind of engage in that upper body. Stretching up and fold forward. One last little shake to come down onto your hands and knees. A little cat-cow flow. Sweet. So we'll do five reps of it all, and you guys know what you're doing. So you can kind of go with your own breath. Spiraling your elbow creases forward. Push the ground away to pull your ribs in. Tuck your tail. Now keep those spiraled elbows, so you're really keeping the push, starting with your tailbone, stick it out, arch through your back, and press your chest forward through your arms. So you're really keeping that upper body push, the spiral, push the ground away, and moving in the smoothest way you can. So starting with your tailbone, arch it out, keep the push, and that's going to allow you to pull your shoulders back to press your chest forward. 3 more times, tuck it under, push it away, shake out your head, keeping the push, arching through. So each time trying to pull your shoulders back away from your ears a little bit more so you can really press your chest forward through your arms. So you're starting to open up kind of across your upper back as well as your chest. And one more time. And then coming back to neutral. So keeping the spiral of your elbows, so elbow creases spiraling forward, keep that push. We're going to wave to the side. And just like when so on this lateral plane, just like the other plane, you're starting with your hips. So swing your hips over to the other side, everything follows. And then hips move. So you're being as wavy as possible, trying to stretch through your side and through your obliques. Notice what your shoulders do naturally. You can feel right away as you keep that push in the spiral that actually as you go to the side, you can kind of feel this push-pull that we were talking about, I was talking about, as you're inverting. So really try to notice what point you can push with your outside hand and pull with your inside hand to stretch a little more through your side. That awareness is just going to make it even more obvious when there's 100 other things happening. We'll go one more to each side. really try on the short side, really trying to pull that hand back, shoulder away from your ear. So you're kind of pulling your armpit towards your hip bone and swing your hips over. Awesome. Back through the center, and we're going to do the thread the needles. So stacking your shoulder over your wrist, stretch it up. Keep the spiral and the push with your bottom arm as you reach under, so really pulling your ribs in, trying to reach through as far as you can, and then back up. So only go as far as you can, keeping that elbow crease spiraled forward and your arms straight. 2/3, so you're really using your obliques to reach your arm through. And on this fifth one, you'll reach all the way through and then place your shoulder and your temple down on the ground to use your other hand to twist yourself open. And as you twist yourself open, try to pull your shoulders away from your ears and reach out through your tailbone. So you have lots of length in your back and then twist in your upper back. So, one, and switch it up to the other side. So each one you really are thinking re-spiral, stack your shoulder over your wrist and reach. Keep that push as you reach through, ribs pulling in, only going as far as you can with that, keeping that push and spiral of your supporting arm. Awesome. Yeah. And as you reach through, keep trying to push the ground away, pull your shoulder away from your ear, and you can feel how that just kind of engages up that upper back slightly differently. After 5, you're going to lay your shoulder and your temple down on the ground. Maybe pet your cat if he's decided to join. And then the same cue. So pulling your shoulders away from your ears to kind of get that length in your upper back and reach through your tailbone. It's going to make sure that you're staying nice and long and then twisting through your upper. Awesome. On one, stretch it up. And then you can sit back on your heels. You can slide your hands slightly farther forward, really grip the ground, and then sit back on your heels to start getting a little stretch in your shoulders. Just take one deep breath and try to feel everything in your upper back fill up, so everything that you just activated in all those cat-cows has a moment to stretch out. Awesome. And then you can sit up. So I'll do a quick forearm warm-up before our plank so they don't just get really tired. So big circles with your wrists. So really trying to pull your fingers in towards your forearms, circle them around. You can stretch them out to the side, up above your head, and then switch directions as you bring them back down. Awesome. Hands out to the side, fingers up, palms out, wiggle your fingers. It's going to lie right in the way. And now fingers down, wiggle them. Oh, you left everything that's important visible. Good job. And then fingers up, palms in, wiggle them. And palms out, wiggle. Awesome. We'll just do the slopers to kind of get those ones going. So fingers are straight. You're folding at the major joint of your fingers and then pulling them into a fist, curl in like a fiddlehead and open. So fold, tuck it in. Oh my gosh, Jack, you might need to go. We'll do 3 more of those. Really trying to exaggerate the super straight fingers as you fold at that major knuckle, tuck in and down, and one more. Awesome. And then you can just do a couple of the starfishes. So fingers wide, spread them wider, just to kind of stretch all of that out. Awesome. And then you can give them a little shake. Sweet. So we're gonna do a little plank / inchworm section. I'm nice and warm now, so that's nice. So you can come to the end of your mat. Just this. There we go. So stretching up. You're gonna fold forward into a little forward fold. Take a moment to stretch out your legs a little bit. And then we're going to walk forwards into an inchworm. So since it's upper body, really thinking about shifting the weight and pushing through your fingers. So you're pushing through your fingers with each step, trying to keep your kind of core, your midsection as tight as possible so you don't have too much side to side swaying. You can spread your fingers really wide. Then when you get to that nice long inchworm, you're going to hold that for a breath, really pulling your ribs in, pushing the ground away, and then walking your toes in to meet your hands. Just like your hands, taking nice careful steps so you're lifting your foot off the ground and then replacing it with lots of care. When you get to the top, taking a moment in that forward fold to give your hamstrings some love. And then place your hands and walk it back. Just nice, slow movements to start so you're finding all of that control. Pausing in that inchworm, really pushing the ground away, pulling your ribs in, tucking your tail, holding for that breath, and then walking it back. Spreading your feet a little bit farther apart will give you that extra bit of stability. And we'll do that one more time. So pausing in the forward fold, walking forward. Really trying to keep the weight on your hand as you press through your fingers. So you're starting to strengthen those wrists. So you're doing almost like a mini wrist raise with each step. Pausing in that inchworm, push the ground away, pull your ribs in, tuck your tail, and then walk your toes in. Try not to bend your legs, so your goal is to kind of pick your whole leg up and then place it back down. And then last one, walking it back. You're going to push the ground away the whole time. Walking to that inchworm, push the ground away, ribs in, hips under, and then walk it back. So this was one of our kind of challenges from the other day. So we're going to do a little press shift exercise. So you're going to place your hands on the ground, push the ground away up onto your toes to get your hips as high as possible. Keeping that push, you're trying to lean forward to hop your feet in a little bit. You can have them straddled so you don't kick your hands out from under you. And you may not feel like you really go anywhere. So if you're not moving forward, that's cool. We're just going to do 5 attempts. So with each one, pushing the ground, trying to stack your shoulders over your wrists, getting your hips as high as possible. Lean forward slightly to let your feet hop in. So we'll do either one length of your mat or 5. As best you can, trying to spiral your elbow creases forward. Nice. So the more you do them, that little moment of your feet hopping forward will become more and more controlled, and you'll be able to try to really hold it. Yeah, nice. So your goal is getting your hips as high as possible, so that your core engaged will just kind of scoot your legs forward with the utmost grace. It was not an immediate thing. So then we'll just give your wrists a little stretch, couple little circles again. And a really nice, you can just kind of put the backs of your hands down on the ground to stretch them back, kind of this way. Excellent. Okay. So Charlie, I'm gonna need you to move for this one. You gotta go. Come on, Charlie. It's not the end of the world. Okay. You might just be here for this. If I kick him, it's his own fault. All right. So we're gonna do a little rotational stuff. So again, this is another one we've been doing, but we're gonna start with walking forward to plank to get your positioning, shifting your hips up and back. And then this is gonna be our starting position. So pushing the ground away, spiraling your elbow creases forward, you're gonna lift one hand and reach back for your opposite ankle and twist. And then step your hand back, and we'll do the other side. So pushing the ground away to lift your other hand and twist. So you're starting to get a little bit of that twist in your upper back from the thread the needles and that. You can keep doing it this way. If you want to make it slightly more challenging, you'll go plank, wave up, push the ground away, and reach back and forward to plank. So if you want that little bit of extra shoulder work, you can go through plank. And if you're happy with it, you can just do down dog. We're going to do 2 more to each side. Really trying to push the ground away and spiral the elbow crease of the hand that's on the ground. Awesome. One more on the last side. Awesome. Now, from our plank, you're going to roll over onto one side into one arm plank. You can always put your foot in a kickstand to hold yourself here. Or you can just balance. Wherever you are, try to push the ground away and spiral your elbow crease forward. You're going to hold for 3 more seconds. 2, 1. Now, look down at the ground and with as much control as you possibly can, try to rotate back, pause for a moment, and then place your hand again. Nice. If you've lost it, refinding that push and spiral, twist over onto the other side, rolling up. Try to keep that spiral of your elbow, pushing the ground away, reaching for the ceiling. And back through the center. So you can do that again, or you can twist and try to reach your leg out in front of you. Or bend it, or do kind of whatever it is. So it's your bottom leg that's lifted this time. And then twist it back through that plank and other side. So pushing the ground away, spin to the side, lift that bottom leg in some regard. Keep reaching through that top arm, pushing through the bottom one. Bring it back through the center. And we'll do that one more time. Trying to maybe reach it a little higher. Push the ground away, hold. Twist it back. And one more time to the last side. Push the ground away, reach, spiral that bottom arm. Twist back through the middle, and we'll come down through chaturanga and cobra. And you can always, if you have your own, like if you have your favorite vinyasa, you can always do that for any of these. Rolling down, and then shift back to sit on your heels and give your arms a little stretch forward. Sweet. The next one of this little flow series is we're going to do the step through forward. I'm going to do it facing you so you can see what my hands and legs are doing. All right, check, go. Grab anywhere else. Anywhere. Go on. Sit down. Sit. Sit. You're so well behaved. Stay there. Awesome. So for this one, we're going plank. One foot's stepping forward to the outside, and you can experiment with how far to the side that hand picks up, and you're reaching through and back. Step, reaching through and back. So same thing, we'll do 5 on each side. So your goal is to step through, trying to keep your hips as high as possible to stretch and back. Foot, hips nice and high and back. If you want to add a little bit of dynamic movement, you can kind of hop your foot and do it all in one movement. depending on if you want that dynamism or if you want super control reaching through. Whichever version you're doing, being really careful to keep that the arms spiraling forward and pushing. Yeah, you're just showing off, Chuck. And making sure, so it's for your brain, making sure your foot is reaching, the correct foot is reaching, so it's always the outside one. Reaching through. And then once you're done, finishing it off with that vinyasa, really spiraling your elbow creases forward, leaning your shoulders to lower down. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, lift up, wave, and then sit back on your heels, give your arms a little break. Awesome. Hello. Sweet. Well, that definitely warmed me up really quickly. Check. So lots of pushing and spiraling. The more you can think about that every time you're in a down dog or a plank, the stronger you're going to be in that position and the easier things like handstand are going to be. Yeah. So let's go to some band mobility stuff. So grab your bands so they're close. All right. Come on, Chuck. Be right back. Come on. Charlie, come. Oh my God. No, come on. Go. Scram. Oh my gosh. So difficult. Sit. Sit down. Stay. Super. Okay, so first one, it's a variation on kind of just like a little shoulder mobility, getting everything moving. So you're just gonna lie flat on the ground. You're gonna let your knees come over to one side, so they're in line with your hips and your knees are bent to 90, so you're just lying on your side. So the whole time thinking about keeping your shoulder pulled away. Charlie, go away. Chuck. So this hand that's on the top, you're just drawing a circle just like we do with our legs. Trying to get both shoulders flat on the ground so you open them all the way up. And then draw the circle back. So we're going to do 8 of these. And try to use your core to initiate it. So you're not just like moving your arm and then your upper body moves. Try to make that as smooth as possible. So my core is slightly engaged. And I'm thinking about pushing my shoulders back to the ground to open up, trying to get them both flat on the ground, my shoulders pulled away from my ears, and back. So you're going to do 8, and then 8 on the other side. All right, come on. Come on. No, you're being too much of a pain. Really, come on. Go. Scram. No, come. Good boy. Come on. Charlie. Good boy. Yeah. So just like the ones we do with our legs, it's just kind of feeling that kind of getting everything loose and feeling all of that movement coming from your core. Nice. Yeah, and then 8 on each side. So just starting to become a bit more aware of how everything moves in tandem. So one thing doesn't move and then the other, it's really everything happens at once and you can feel it all, especially coming back from open to close. You can feel your core doing some of that work to keep your shoulder pressed into the ground as that arm moves. So you're starting to wake up that core to shoulder connection. Very nice. Fab. Excellent. Okay, next one starts to warm up between your shoulder blades. So it's related to ones we've been doing. You're going to do it from child's pose with one arm stretched out in front of you. Other hand is going to be at your head. So you're not twisting everything open. You're going to keep your chest on your knees. So this is how it differs from other ones we've done. Your head doesn't move, and you're trying to keep your shoulder pulled away from your ear and lift your elbow and back down. So it's not the twist that we're usually doing. It's just that arm. So we're going to do 8. So just like some of these other twists, I like to have my thumb on my shoulder and my kind of pinky at the back of my head to keep that length from my shoulder to my ear, so my neck is long. And then really trying to lift from there and up. So what will tend to happen as you're trying to lift higher is your shoulder will shrug up to your ear. That's not quite targeting what we want, so that's why you want to keep the neck long and really just lifting your elbow up and down. So I feel it just as much on the side of the extended arm as the one I'm lifting. So you can really feel it bracing with that, so that's the push, and then the pull happens with your opposite arm up and down. So yeah, that push-pull is kind of, the theme is coming back. And we're going to do 8. And after 8, you can do your other side. So just stretching your arm out in front of you, keeping that shoulder pulled away from your ear, and you can use your hand to kind of, as a reminder that that's what you want to be at. And then keeping that shoulder away from your ear, lift and down. Going nice and slowly so you can kind of hover at the top, see if you can find a little bit more space there before you drop it down. If your shoulder's starting to shrug up towards your ear, keep trying to pull it away and then pull up through your elbow and back down. So it's really that whole area between your shoulder blades. Excellent. Very nice. Yeah, so since you don't get to twist, it really tells you how much of that is kind of extension of your shoulder instead of like full body twisting, which is kind of cool. Okay, grab a band, a looped band. Light, if you have an option, a lighter one would be good. If you don't, that's cool. So putting the band on your wrists, or kind of just above your wrists, so that your hands aren't going to be the thing that's trying to take over. Same position that we were just in, chest pushed into your knees, reaching your hands forward. You're going to keep pressure out into the band, so your hands are shoulder width apart, and then lifting one shoulder up and down nice and slow. So just like the other ones, the tendency will be for your shoulder to kind of hike up to your ear to try to make more space. Keep it pulling back. So there's always a little bit of space kind of between your shoulder and your ear. If you had like an avocado there, you don't want to squish it. Yeah. But this is where you're like experience, you get to think about the subtlety of it a bit. So you want to be reaching your arms forward while keeping that space. So it's not like locked down, because then you're kind of blocking some of that movement. It's that in between of like reaching but not shrugging. So reaching with your hands but pulling back slightly with your thinking about like flattening your shoulder blades against your back. It's definitely a bit of like a nuanced position. So if you have questions, awesome. it's like it's a thing that you're like, oh, I know it's like in the mid zone that I want to reach and pull, but it's a bit of both. It's this push and pull. You need them both, kind of everywhere. So finding that kind of like somewhere in between place, that this isn't squished, but it's also not like stuck down. Because you can see right away, as soon as I really like pull my shoulder down, this closes. And if this exercise is for that overhead mobility, if this is closed, you're going to be kind of using some weird things, especially in your neck. Your neck really tries to take over when you're like locked down and then trying to move. Yeah, nice. It's a funky one, but it's going to make any hanging so much safer and happier for your shoulders. Deadly. Nice. Very nice. All right. So I could definitely feel, since I did all of this like spinning yesterday, on my push side, that serratus is pretty sore. So I know, like I could feel it right away as soon as I did a little lift on that side, which means I assume this next one is going to be brutal today. But it's my favorite serratus one, so I'm super stoked on it right now. So the band is going around your elbows, and you're forward on your elbows. And then it's the same shoulder position that you were just thinking. So not like jammed, pulled away from your ears, but also not squishing it. So you're finding that same kind of subtle in the middle position, palms towards you, hands pointing straight up. So try not to let them drift forward. They're pointing straight up to the ceiling. We're going to go criss, cross. You're going to really feel that suck your shoulder blades onto your ribs. Hold that position, and then with one arm, straight up and down 8 times. If you feel like you can't move that hand at all, don't worry too much about it. Just go back to the criss, cross, trying to spiral your pinkies towards your face, your thumbs out, and reaching your thumbs out to the side. That's going to start to get the position. So if that's really hard, pause there. If you feel like you can hold that position, shoulders pulled away from your ears, shoulder blades kind of sucking onto your ribs, then you can add the hand lift. And we'll do 8 on each side. What will tend to happen is your hand will come to the center. So make sure it's going straight up and down. There's no other movement in your arm. To make it slightly easier, you can bring your elbows a little closer to you, because then your shoulders aren't quite so open. So everything's harder in that open position, which is why everything in a handstand or everything hanging is so hard, because you're in that fully extended position and then trying to activate from there. So the farther out your shoulders are or your elbows are, the harder it's going to be, so you can make it easier by bringing them in a little closer. Nice. Yeah. I definitely can feel the difference between my two sides, and I will admit I only did the spinning on one side, so I'm going to fully attribute the tired imbalance to that. But these are the muscles that are sore from that, so I'm like extra convinced that this like push and pull is the secret, and that we're doing the things to strengthen it. Okay, so 2 more shoulder ones for you guys, and they're both artist athlete ones. So the first one is going to be the meat hook drill. So, and it's exactly this positioning that she's going to do. So you're going to take a band, a nice heavy resistance one if you have it. It may take a moment to like find what band's going to be right. If it feels like too much, you could just like tie a knot in the end of a long band and put it around your foot, because then you can really adjust easily how much resistance you want. So you're gonna put a twist in it just so that you can like put your hand in it like a strap. So my hand is in, I'm gonna twist and hold onto the strap or onto the band just like you would kind of a strap. So from here, I'm lying down. So you might need to kind of get the stretch into it. This is the weird part. So you can feel that the band is pulling your shoulder away. So what you're doing is shrugging, not shoulder to ear, nothing crazy like that. You're still keeping that kind of avocado space, but trying to pull your shoulder down so it's all flat and your shoulder blade is flat against the ground, and then release it. So just pulling it back and forward. So what it looks like kind of upright, just so you can see, is you're being pulled towards your foot and your round. You're pulling your shoulder down and back to flatten your upper back against the ground, and then release. Pull back and in. The first couple are not super hard, but you're going to do a set of 10, and it will get a bit tired as you do it. Nice. So your goal is, keep that avocado shape, the space, and pull your shoulder down and back to flatten everything against the ground. So since you're like you can do this exercise standing up, but since you're lying on the ground, it gives you the information about what the rest of your body is doing to allow that action to happen. So you can think, so don't forget that your abs are there. So you don't need to like super crunch or anything, but you are slightly keeping your ribs pulled in because you don't want to, as you're pulling back, just like arch to let that happen. You want to keep everything super engaged. So ribs are pulled slightly in, and then shoulders coming down and back. Down and back. Nice. So this is the difference. This like when your hand is kind of being pulled towards your foot. This is like your first meat hook that you ever do, that you just feel really heavy and you're like, oh, I'm not wrapped around my arm. Oh God, how can I do this? But as soon as you get this shoulder down and back, you can see that now your arm is across your body in such a way that your body can wrap around your arm and it will be strong. And then you can move from there. Because if you're in one of these like really sinky meat hooks, as soon as you try to move, you're off balance and you have no stability. So it's just training that shoulder down and back. If you found one side harder, do a second set on that harder side. It's probably the arm you don't do your meat hook on. Or maybe it's not, and you are realizing that you should be doing meat hook on the other side all along. So a set of 10 on each side, and if you want to do an extra set of like 5 or 10 on your bad side or on both sides, also great. Because it's a bit of, today is a day of subtleties. That's what happens when it turns gray. Nice. And yeah, you can try to relax your head, Sam, so that you're not kind of using your big muscles in your neck to facilitate it. You might also just be frozen. You totally were. I think you looked up, and that's when the screen froze, Sam. So I was like, oh, why is she in this kind of weird position? That's funny. What direction is the elbow? Great question. It's, as you're pulling it back, you're doing the same spiral forward as you do when you're in the plank. So it's that same rotation pull back. Yeah, great question. And if you're doing it hanging, that elbow direction will give you'll have a lot of control with the thing you're hanging on. So spiraling thumb out will kind of keep you locked in. Yeah, doesn't need to be super exaggerated in this particular drill, but yeah, you can think pull back slight. As soon as your thumb turns out, that's what's sucking your shoulder blade onto your ribs. It's great for having a good posture. Yes! It's a posture exercise. Yay! Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So Kaylee, make sure you keep your ribs knitted in. You let them go out and then pull them back in. So you're like aware of it, just be aware of it slightly sooner so you don't need to, yeah, it looks great. Yeah, way smoother, no like jankiness along the way. Nice. But yeah, that'll totally help the computer hunch. That like pulling back and down, then you're upright. Da, da, da. Posture, meat hook, essential life skills for everybody. Deadly. Okay, so the last one we're gonna do is just kind of an all-around power shoulder move. 80s power suit. You're gonna have 2 blocks or heights or something. You're gonna put them on either side of your mat, making sure they're in line. We haven't done this one in a little while. So you're gonna bend your arms like a cactus so that your forearms are on the block. So you can spread them as wide as you need them to be comfortable. Yeah. So you will do the first ones with your knees bent, your feet on the ground, because you can kind of use that to help you. And then to make it a little more difficult, you can stretch your legs out. But from here, you're gonna keep your ribs pulled in and your tail tucked without moving your head. So you're not reaching with your head. You're gonna push down into your elbows to squeeze your shoulder blades together to try to lift your chest off the ground. Hold for a moment and then lower it down. So what you don't want to do is just lift your head and then see if you can, it's going to be really hard to pull your shoulders off and your neck will get irritated. So keeping the back of your neck long, pushing into your elbows, pushing straight down to try to lift your shoulders off the ground and back down. We're going to do 10. So yeah, if you want to make it harder, stretch your legs out because that's going to force you to keep that core a little bit more engaged. To push up, keeping the back of the neck long so you're looking straight up. Hover and hold for a moment and relax. Yeah. If you want to make it truly heinous, you can bring your legs up in a pike. And then this is exactly what a roll up is. So you can start, so it's like you're in this pike, so you're compressing your pike, and then you're trying to lift your shoulders off the ground as you do it. The closer your legs are to your face, the more your shoulders have to do the work, and your core is kind of doing its own thing. So that's how you can make it harder if you are wanting that. But keeping the knees bent with the feet on the ground will encourage that good core position, so your ribs are pulled in, your hips are tucked, so you're really focusing it on your upper back and down. Nice. Nice. Yeah, and your head can come off the ground. It doesn't need to kind of stay back there. You just don't want to be leading with your chin like a turtle or a pigeon. This is definitely the most powerful of them. Good thing we saved it for last. Nice. Awesome. So now you're ready for roll-ups. I assume that's the next thing on everyone's list. So we'll give them a little stretch. Especially since there's all so much upper back stuff, we'll do eagle arms, elbows up, hands out, and then squish your elbows together. And you can feel and you can kind of see as I push my bottom elbow down, that sets the shoulder. So all that work we just did, it should feel really familiar. Holding that, and then you can curl it in, drop your head, give it a shake. Keeping trying to squish your elbows together, pull your shoulders away from your ears. And then when you're ready, you can switch sides. So that top elbow pushing down really sets the shoulder just like we've been doing. Keep that pressure, curl it in. Excellent. So yeah, some like slight variations on the same kind of stuff we've been talking about for a long time, but doing something like slightly different always makes you think about it a bit differently. So hopefully you feel kind of like open and engaged from your backside. See, drink some water if you haven't. And we'll do some ass and abs express. I'm just making sure that didn't miss anything. Sweet. Okay. We'll keep doing our minute exercise and move on. So we'll start with, obviously, dead bugs, because they're the best. So if you are wanting to make it more difficult, you can take a block and kind of lay it against both knees so that you can tuck your tail. I'm pushing my hands into the block back into my hands. And then you want to keep that, so you'll have to keep even pressure as you drop one leg and bring it back in. So that's if you're wanting to amp up your dead bugs a little bit. And if you're like, nope, regular bugs are fine, that is totally cool. So I will start your minute. Oh, it was set to 30 minutes. That would have been terrible. Yeah, that's it. Start your timer now. Whatever version you're doing, thinking about slight tail tuck to lift your tailbone. Keep that low core engaged. The farther towards straight you stretch your leg, the harder it is. But if your hip is clicking, just bend your leg a little bit more. Nice. If you've been doing them a bunch, trying to arrive at the straight line with your heel just off the ground and then pulling it back. So you're not kind of shooting your leg out straight and then lowering it. You're trying to make it a nice, smooth action. 20 more seconds. Looking good. Yeah. And then see if for your last few you can really slow it down. So try to take twice as long for each leg movement. So it's super slow and controlled. 4 more seconds. And scene. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Next one we're gonna do the pass arounds. So if you have something to pass from hand to hand, it's cool, like just a band rolled up. So we're lifting your head, your hands, and then reaching back to pass the thing around, and then back. So with each reach back, trying to lift your whole chest off the ground a little bit more, and then everything comes down. The heavier your thing, the harder it is. So if you want to challenge yourself, pick a heavier thing. And if you don't, also cool. All right, ready, set, go. Head, hands, pulling your shoulders away from your ears as you reach your arms back. That's going to help you lift your chest a little higher with each time, and then relax in between. Head, hands, pull back. Keeping the back of your neck really long. Awesome, 15 more seconds. Try to have lots of tension as you swim your arms back, like you're moving through molasses. So you're really pulling your shoulders away from your ears to help lift your chest and back. And you're done. Huzzah! Definitely an upper back one. So now we'll stretch it out a little bit. These guys lying down on your back. So with as little momentum as possible, you're tucking your tail, rocking back, so you get to stretch out everything you just worked, and then really compress your pike to squish one vertebrae at a time back in. If you want to get more of a stretch in your legs, go a little farther, but try to keep that compression. And go. Yeah, and this is a good moment to really notice what your pelvis is doing at each step of the way. So as you pull your ribs in to compress, how does your low back and pelvis feel? Trying to be as controlled as possible up and down. So you're really using your core to place your feet where you want, and then rolling back down, compressing one vertebrae at a time, pulling your legs towards your chest. If your hamstrings are tight, you can just leave them a little bit bent. You can still get all that compression with slightly bent legs. If you're wanting to work on that tight compression and flexibility, then straighten your legs. Compress, reach up through your fingers. And you're done. Awesome. Okay, we'll give your core a slight break, and we're gonna do our clamshell. So grab a band. Some line on your side, and we'll do slight tail tuck so that your hips are stacked, knee, heel, heel, knee. If you're feeling really bold, you can also do it, you can do straight leg version as well. It's a little bit more side butt and a little less core, so depending, if you want to change it up a little bit, you can try that. Okay, and, oh gosh. Go. So tail tuck, hips stacked, knee, heel, heel, knee. With each knee raised, trying to tuck your tail slightly. That's what initiates it. You hold it there. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So if you're doing the straight leg version, trying to keep that slight tail tuck and lifting your legs straight up, trying to hover at the top and then control it back down. You can, yeah, and then we're going to switch sides now. Cool. Hips stacked, knees stacked. So yeah, with each knee lift, you're really pressing your hips forward slightly with that tail tuck that lifts your knee. Finish it down. And if you want to do a couple straight leg ones, really pushing that bottom hip into the ground as you lift it up. Making sure not to rotate your leg too much. And you're done. Da, 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 da. Take a moment to kind of roll out your butt so you can just sit back and kind of make these little circles. It'll keep your core going as you're rolling out your butt. And you can just, experiment with where you like to sit. I like this kind of position, but maybe like it more to the side. Depends on where your butt's sore. Oops. I'm just helping out with my phone. Okay. Because my inner thighs are so sore, that's why we're going to do this one. So we're going to do our boat twist, but with a block between your knees. So it's really going to give you a lot of information about what's twisting and compensating. So block between your knees. I'm very sad that I only have the heavy blocks right now, but what can we do? So from our hollow position, low back pressed into the ground, so your tail is tucked. Lifting up to boat, really root through your sit bones, squeeze your knees together, twist, twist, and what you want to avoid is twist, twist. So this is staying still and you're twisting your upper body as best you can. Okay, and we'll start now. Squeezing your knees together, and if you want to add a little extra butt to it, knees together, heels apart. Twist, twist, reaching as far as you can without letting those legs shift side to side as well. Ten more seconds. Nice. There you go. Yeah, knees together, heels apart. Side butt will be so happy. And you're done. I also really like that cue. This is very random, but for like chair pose in yoga, the kind of squeeze the knees together, but like that kind of squeeze and push allows your side butt to help you in your chair as well. So if your quads are really lazy like mine, that will help. And then for our last one, let's do, we haven't done twist ties in a little while, so let's do twist tie. So instead of moving your upper body, you're moving your lower body. So reach, twist, tie. So same thing, really try to squeeze your legs across. So you're reaching forward. So your upper body's not moving, but your lower body is. Again, the inner thighs, I just want to wreck them today, apparently. Okay, and go. Reaching to your toes, hands to one side, drop it down. Keep reaching straight forward as you twist tie your legs. Hold it for a moment, unwind it up. Head and hands down, hip lift, other side. So challenge yourself. Try to hold that twist tie for an extra moment and try to twist an extra inch out of it. Unwind up, hip lift, squeezing your legs, pointing your toes. Feeling those inner thighs and the low core muscles really working. So tucking the tail to help you twist a little farther. And you're done. Huzzah! So take a moment to stretch out your stomach. Little cobra. Fab. Okay. Sweet. So all of that opening with kind of the good shoulder position that we were doing is gonna get you, it's gonna be that same shoulder position kind of in hang or in a handstand. So your shoulders are nice and warmed up to do some handstand work if you so please, or elbow stand work. So if you have any kind of goal things that you feel really like jazzed to work on, it's kind of your pick. But one thing that might be fun that we tried a little bit on Monday, so maybe we want to try it again just with a slightly different warm up, is the puppy press. So the puppy press is kind of a press to handstand, but one leg at a time. So it's a way that you can ease yourself into starting to get the feeling of a press to handstand. So what it is you're going to have your hands on the ground. You're pushing, spiraling, all that good stuff, trying to get your hips as high as possible. And then you're lifting one leg, so it's kind of in your straddle handstand. That's going to be the counterweight, so you can press your other leg up. So the combination of the shoulder pushing and the side butt work that we did kind of come together to do it. Now, I will tell you that your body proportions will make this easier or harder. If you have a short torso and long limbs, it's much easier to get your butt stacked over your shoulders. If you have short limbs and a long torso, it is harder to get your hips stacked over your shoulders. So your body proportions will affect it. It's not going to make it impossible, but long-limbed folks will definitely have an easier time. However, you can get around that by making your legs longer. You just stretch them out. By giving yourself a height. I don't actually want to go back to the medieval times. So if you give yourself a little height for your feet, that's going to help you get your hips up faster. So it could even be like putting your feet on a chair, because then your hips are already stacked and you're just kind of feeling what your legs are doing. This amount of height is pretty much going, like, I do have really long limbs, so like this amount of height is going to allow me to do it like therapy might do it on a chair, just because we have different proportions. So give yourself a height of any sort. Your hands are on the ground. Your hips are as high as possible. If your hamstring is a limiting factor, you can just bend your knees. You're lifting one leg out and seeing if you can float the other foot. And make sure you try it on both sides. So if you're looking for like a real challenge, that's a fun one. And if anyone knows Crystal, because I posted a video of this the other day, and she's like, wow, that's a way safer way to get into a handstand. I was like, ooh, I don't know if it's safer. It's definitely harder, though. But you can, if you're worried about like falling over anything, just have your back to the wall so it will catch you. And if you're worried about like crumbling, just put a pillow there. It feels like handstands can be really scary, but they're not actually super dangerous. Like, it's just that our heads are crazy. We're crazy people trying to do handstands. What are we doing? This isn't what we're built for.